Buenos días a todos. En este primer minuto me gustaría daros las gracias por haberos conectado hoy en este webinar que hemos organizado entre Iesmat y nuestro partner PreciPoint. Este webinar está enfocado sobre todo a laboratorios de anatomía patológica, pero también de citología y de hematología, ya que vamos a ver el performance de los objetivos que son para este uso en entorno clínico. En primer lugar, mi compañero Emilio Martín, que es jefe de producto de Microscopía Óptica y Electrónica en Iesmat, va a dar una pequeña presentación como una introducción teórica, y después vamos a dar paso a James Brown. Él es ingeniero de PreciPoint, ingeniero de producto de PreciPoint, que él va a dar la sesión enfocada en la parte práctica del equipo. El equipo es O8 y nos va a enseñar su software y cómo se toman y se analizan las imágenes. También tenéis un chat abajo a la derecha en el que podéis formular todas las preguntas que necesitéis, tanto en castellano como en inglés, como vosotros os sintáis más cómodos, y al final de la sesión le formularé las preguntas. Eso sí, necesito que me indiquéis si la pregunta va para Emilio, nuestro compañero de Iesmat, o para James, que es el ingeniero de PreciPoint. Y sin más preámbulos, por favor, doy paso a mi compañero Emilio para que comience la sesión. Muchas gracias.
Pues muchísimas gracias, Berta. Buenas tardes a todos. Ya pasadas las 12 de la mañana. En primer lugar, daros las gracias a los participantes que están actualmente activos en nuestro chat. Y como comentó Berta, si tienen alguna pregunta, por supuesto, estaré encantado de poder ayudaros. Para los que no nos conozcáis, Iesmat es una empresa activa desde hace más de 20 años. Somos proveedores de soluciones para todo tipo de detección de materiales, nanopartículas, pero también para estudios clínicos, para aplicaciones, ¿no?, que tengan que ver un poco más con el ámbito de medicina. En Iesmat, además de trabajar con otros partners en microscopía electrónica, también pues proporcionamos soluciones en microscopía digital, ¿vale? Sobre todo en escáneres. Y la primera pregunta sobre este webinar es ¿por qué utilizar inmersión en aceite en vez de utilizar objetivos en aire? La primera respuesta sería, pues, la primera cosa sería la reducción de refracción, ¿vale? Dado que la luz cambia de dirección según cambia de un medio a otro, es decir, aire, vidrio, muestra, ¿vale? Se utiliza aceite de inmersión, puesto que tiene un índice de refracción muy parecido al del vidrio, en torno al 1.51, ¿vale? Esto hace que minimice la refracción y mantiene el haz de luz alineado, como podemos ver en esta figura. Esto no solamente, la microscopía de inmersión aceite no solamente se reduce la refracción, sino que hace que aumente la resolución, puesto que la resolución, dado por D, depende del número de la apertura numérica y del índice de refracción del medio entre la lente y la muestra. Podemos ver que si utilizamos un objetivo de inmersión aceite que tiene el índice de refracción muy parecido al del cristal, vemos que aumentamos la apertura numérica y con ello pues mejoramos la resolución. Y por último, pues también tiene una mejor transmisión de la luz. Esto es debido a que al reducir la pérdida por reflexión y dispersión se obtienen imágenes más brillantes y de menor contraste. En principio, la microscopía digital, en comparación con la microscopía óptica tradicional, las imágenes son generadas por el sistema, ¿vale? En este caso, un microscopio óptico que escanea la muestra, ¿vale? Una vez escaneada la muestra, se almacena en nubes para que posteriormente sea observado, ¿vale? Esta observación, esto mejora en relación a la microscopía óptica tradicional, en tanto en cuanto las muestras se pueden almacenar durante un tiempo infinito, es decir, no se degradan con el tiempo y pueden ser observados por varios usuarios a la vez. No es necesario, por ejemplo, microscopía óptica, que es solamente un usuario. Las principales características de los microscopios digitales se pueden definir en aproximadamente 7 puntos. La primera sería, tiene un ajuste de GZ, es decir, dependiendo de cuánto ancho sea la muestra, del grosor de la muestra, podemos ajustar el GZ. Tiene 5 modos diferentes de enfoque, ¿vale? Que están básicamente basados en la asignación de diferentes puntos de enfoque para un cálculo diferente para cada punto de enfoque. Y luego tiene modo de píxeles más nítidos, ¿vale? También tiene un ajuste manual para cada punto de enfoque. Además, posee modo de escaneo a través de coordenadas, el conocimiento de código de barra, lo cual hace bastante muy aplicable para conseguir en el caso de en hospitales, ¿no? Pues seguir tener toda la trazabilidad del paciente. Y por último, el reconocimiento de tejido controlado por inteligencia artificial a través de software o a través de plataformas adicionales. Ya lo he comentado un poco, pero en caso de PreciPoint ofrece en todos sus microscopios, tanto en inmersión en aceite como en inmersión en aire, como para intraoperatorio. Son 4 ventajas las que me gustaría destacar. El primero sería el trabajo en remoto. Esto hace que todas las imágenes se puedan almacenar, se puedan compartir y pueda acceder a imágenes y diapositivas de cualquier punto del mundo. ¿Vale? Esto funciona bastante bien y lo hace especialmente aplicable pues, para aquellos usuarios pues, que tengan el trabajo un poco lejos de casa. Colaborativo, es decir, nosotros podemos incorporar aulas virtuales, flujos de trabajo y también consultoría de segunda opinión, ¿vale? A través del Preci-Cloud, que lo que hace pues mejorar la efectividad en el diagnóstico. Tiene posiblemente 3 funciones de operación, ¿vale? Sería solo aplicar un poco mejor James, o lo veremos de una forma más práctica a través de la demostración en vivo, pero básicamente tiene tres modos diferentes de funciones. La primera sería microscopía óptica o live image, la función de escáner, ¿vale? Donde podemos seleccionar el área de interés. Y luego el scan mode instantáneo, pues básicamente lo que hace es escanear la muestra para luego ser guardado. Y por último, y sabemos que la protección de datos es algo muy importante en este tipo de aplicación, pues dentro de la plataforma, pues los usuarios pueden tener diferentes opciones para controlar el uso compartido y dar o quitar derechos de acceso, ¿vale? Eso pues se hace a través de la plataforma de Preci-Cloud. Y por último, y a grosso modo, PreciPoint, además de estos 3 productos, tiene otros productos disponibles, pero básicamente nos vamos a centrar en el microscopio digital 8, el modelo 8, un microscopio de inmersión en aceite, tiene objetivos disponibles de 20, 60 y 100 objetivos. Y bueno, ahora a través de James, pues podremos ver un poco las funciones. Son bastante simples de operar, pero sin embargo tiene una resolución que a mi parecer es bastante notable. Y de momento, Berta, esto sería por mi lado. Si tuviera una pregunta, o bien lo escribo por el chat o y al final pues me gustaría contestarla. Y por mi parte, dar las gracias a James. James, thank you very much for participating in this webinar. So please go ahead.
You can hear me right? Good or no?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to join in this meeting today. Really appreciate everybody's time. Sorry that I don't speak Spanish, but I'll speak slow and that everybody can understand. So thank you once again. My name is James Brown. I work for PreciPoint, and as Emilio mentioned, we are dealing in digital imaging from our Fritz device to our M8 to our O8 that he just showed. We offer a lot of different workflow solutions in terms of imaging. Today, we are going to be focusing on the O8, so that is built for oil immersion. One thing to keep in mind about that is that a lot of our our systems are kind of built from the same foundation. The Fritz and the M8 are more scanning systems. The M8 is also a live digital microscope, but then the O8 is the best all-around solution that we have in terms of offering kind of a wide variety of objective options for our customers. But the oil immersion is mainly the topic when it comes to the O8. That's why we call it the O8. So I'm going to quickly share my screen and give everybody a little bit of an overview of what we mean and how we work with this system. So the O8, it has 3 different modes, like Emilio mentioned, right? You can see here in the top right, this system is an open system. It's easy to clean, especially with those oil, getting oil all over. We have a glass base plate that keeps all of that away, and it's easy to clean. Holds 2 slides, as you can see here in the top left corner. We're actually currently looking at slide number 1, but once again, we have a 100x objective, as you can see mounted here. Our systems have 1 objective mounted at one time, but the nice thing about that is the fact that the user has the ability to go zoom in and zoom out. So it's a seamless zoom in and zoom out with only 1 objective. So for example, if I just quickly do this here, and this is kind of the information that a person would see in the beginning, right? These are some peripheral blood smears here, and that's really what we see our customers using this for: peripheral blood smears or bone marrow aspirates, and scanning these type of samples is quite difficult, especially with the oil immersion. But we'll quickly dive into the instant scan mode first, because I think that's kind of the unique mode for PresiPoint, and I'll explain to everybody how that can correspond to different workflows. We also have slide scan and live view. So think of instant scan as kind of combining slide scanning and live microscopy into one. So as you can see here, we have these 2 images. They're created with our overview image. So what a user would have to do, maybe somebody like a clinical chemist or a hematologist, they would just immediately be able to start to work with this mode. And what I mean by that is the user can dive right into the sample and not have to wait for a scan to be done. So for example, I think a lot of people in the industry could say, all right, we want to definitely look at the feather edge of this sample here. And all we have to do is start to zoom in, right? And at a certain point, the system will start to work for you, and it's always kind of recycling information. So this is a mode that really highlights very quick representation of a sample. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dive into this sample really quickly here, and then you'll see that it's going to start to tile up images here, okay? So we don't have to wait for this to be done. You can see that it's going to tile this really quickly. We're viewing this right now at 29.47x, right? So you have a seamless zoom in and zoom out, and you can reach very arbitrary magnifications, right? So something, with the traditional microscopes, you're bound to the 5, the 10, the 20, the 40, the 60, the 100. But even though we have a 100x objective mounted in here, we're able to reach 29.47 or 46.05, right? And still have a very crisp image. So the user does not have they never lose the overview of what's going on, right? You have the overview here. You can see kind of where you're at on the map as well, and you can continue to navigate. A lot of people that I talk to within this industry, they're really trying to count cells and kind of look at those morphology of those cells. So you can definitely do that with our system. And a couple of things that I like to point out here, as well as you move around, right, you can see that it's going to always constantly be tiling for me. And I'm able to kind of screen this slide at about a 46x and be able to see what I want to see. And you can see that let's say the focal plane is changing a little bit. Of course, we can just do a quick autofocus, right? Simple click of a button. And then you can see that it's going to showcase some things a little bit differently. I think it didn't grab the autofocus that well, but then I grab the I button, which is our live microscopy, which is allowing a user to go up and down the z-axis and find that focal plane. And once I release that, it's going to apply it to the field of view that I'm looking at, right? So it's really nice. You know, let's say we dive a little bit further into this sample here. We're actually past the objective here. Let's go to that 100x. And really, you as the user have a complete control over fine-tuning and seeing those structures inside those cells, as you can see here. I find that this is a great image right here, and it's showcasing exactly what you need to see within the sample. The system itself it's very easy to use. You can also take quick screenshots of what you're looking at. And, you know, sometimes people are used to working with halogen light source. Some people are used to working with LED light source. Our system is an LED light source. So we have had people talk about it in the past where we have the ability to kind of do like I call them Instagram filters, but it's mainly playing around with your brightness, your levels of adjustment. So you have your histogram, your gamma, and your different channels and sharpness. So you can really fine tune what you're looking at in real time to what you want to see and what you're used to looking at. Okay. On top of that, I want to quickly show you another quick additive here. We talked a little bit about counting, and so I want to open up our annotations. So our annotations, it's great here. You can see that we have a yellow overlay. So this is really nice for research groups who are trying to, let's say, create images for their papers or something like that. You have the ability to do that, and you also have the ability to annotate things especially. So let's maybe just draw a quick line here that we're going to get some information, some length of something. Once again, we mentioned about the counting aspect here. So what I want to do is get something in focus, maybe tile out a couple of these areas, and then draw a big area here. I'm actually going to quickly hide that. So I have a overview here. So I'm going to draw an area. So our system, you can count. It's not an automated counting system. You have to do some manual work here, but you can definitely do that. You know, I get asked a lot of times about image analysis software. Of course, image analysis software could be applied to this or could be applied to a scan once it's done. But you know, us as the company, we're really more involved in the imaging side of things rather than the AI and let's call it morphology or those types of workflows. But we give those images. The images need to be clean and need to be sharp to really create those deep learning algorithms. And we're definitely the group that's going to be doing that for everybody. So once again, I'm going to quickly draw an area just to kind of highlight what I'm talking about. We want to go in here. This is my area that I want to scan in. You can see if we zoom it out a little bit further here. Go here maybe. Right here. Perfect. And we also have the ability to count and name any information. I would probably use the pink one here just for contrast. You can name this, I don't know, test sample 1, right? And you can go in within the sample and start to count these areas. Maybe you want to count your blood cells here, right? Oops, I want to get rid of that guy or move him here. And you can see here as we go around this area, we can count these and we'll get some numerical information. You can take a quick screenshot of this as well, and it's going to highlight all of the annotations that we've created. Another thing that I really like to kind of position and point out is these will stay there and they will scale as you zoom in and zoom out. You can do a marker tool as well. Maybe we want to mark this cluster of cells here and name it. Let's say, look here. I don't have any good scientific names, but you get the understanding of what I mean by this, and it's going to point it out here. Another good aspect for your papers or what you want to work on here, right? And this, like I said, this thing is always constantly working for us. As you can see that it navigates and moves things around for us. So as we go back up here, you can see all of the areas that we've counted. And you have all this information on that right side, especially for research groups. That's very valuable information, especially if you have more annotations and more quantifiable data. You can, of course, export that information into like a CSV file or an Excel file and use that for your research or manipulate any sort of data, and you can work with that data. So that's quite nice. But as I mentioned, the system is quite easy to use. I'm going to quickly delete all of these annotations and just showcase a little bit more about the image quality that we can obtain with this device here, about this 10100X. So as you can see, we'll just highlight it once again, sharpen it to what I like, and it's good to go. So once again, I want to point out to everybody that this is a mode that's really used to quickly represent what you're looking at without having to scan an image. And then it's a good segue to go to the scan. So I like to kind of point out the different workflow for my customers. Once they kind of screen some areas of interest and they say, oh, this is a really cool area that I like. You can, of course, directly export this view to a scanned image, right? And so you can see here, this is the area that exactly what we were looking at. So it leads me to showcase a little bit about this scanning. Scanning, as I mentioned before, scanning with 100X is quite difficult. It's a time-consuming process, and it is like that because of the nature of the optics, I would say. I always like to point out to my customers that, scanning with a 20X objective versus scanning with a 100X objective, it's like night and day, right? It's kind of like pointing out here, we have a 20X field of view, right? And then if we minimize that to about, let's say we go to here, and this is maybe a 40X objective. So now you can see that shrunk by 2. And so imagine if we do this to maybe go to a 60X here, and you can see that this is getting smaller and smaller. So therefore, it takes so many more images to create one big image, right? So that's the interesting aspect about scanning with 100X, right? It takes some time, but we do get a really nice image. I want to point out a couple of things here. We do have barcode recognition software. We do have an ID reader. This, of course, doesn't have any barcode here, but I want to also point out a couple of things about the scanning modes, right? So the scanning modes, we have single, predictive, intelligent, autofocus, and focus fusion. These modes are really based on balancing out the complexity of the sample. So single focus, it's going to go to one area and it's going to apply that focal point that it finds to the whole scanning area. So this is really used for samples that aren't so complex, more monolayer or smaller areas. Predictive focus, you're getting a little bit more aggressive with the scan, and you're able to definitely, let's say, point out a couple different focal planes. You can see the dots here. It's going to go to those dots, and it finds this best focal plane on a specific range. In intelligent focus, this is kind of our default mode, and this is really nice for bone marrow, I would especially, and the peripheral blood, because we do see that as this sample kind of feathers out, of course, the material on the left side is thinner than the material on the right side, right, where the blood starts. A lot of my customers, they just scan the feather area because this information is not so relevant for them. It's kind of, let's call it, crowded. So they just scan the feather area. And of course, it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. But the nice thing about the intelligent focus is you really can determine the micrometers. So in the predictive focus, it was traveling and trying to find the Z position on a specific range. In intelligent focus, you can determine that range by micrometers. So for example, 25 micrometers. So now I'm telling the system to, when it's scanning this image, when it's going to those dots, it's going to go up and down 25 micrometers. So yeah, it can be overkill, I would say, for peripheral blood smears, but in bone marrow, it's quite thick, right? So you can definitely do that with this sample. It says about this area here is going to take about 14 minutes to scan. I did do a couple pre-scans before that I can show you, and I'll talk a little bit about the cloud as well. So once again, you could have multiple slides scanning areas, right? Smaller areas is definitely better. And that's kind of why I tell my customers, take a look at the instant scan, find the areas that you want to scan, and grab them like we did in the past, and then collect those, and then run some scans, run multiple scans. And then you're going to get the best bang for your buck, right? You're going to be able to exactly see what you want to see, and get rid of the useless information that you don't need, right? So that is the slide scanning mode, and yeah, that's all we need to showcase here. You can, of course, export the overview image, and also export the label if that's something that's of interest for the customers. But it just wanted to focus on this autofocus and focus fusion. Those are ultimately overkill, especially for peripheral blood and bone marrow. Autofocus, what it does is it autofocuses on every tile image, which you can see that would also expand the time it would take. And focus fusion, it works more on a pixel per tile instead of a tile, right? So it's grabbing the pixels within those tiles. So last but not least, I want to kind of showcase the live microscopy. A lot of people will understand what this is, because this is really like you're looking through a 100x objective through a microscope, right? So what we can do here is, once again, you can see we're really live, and we're moving around this system, the sample, I should say. You can, of course, drive up and down on the z-axis, right? Jump to this second slide, it's going to be definitely on a different Z position, right? You can see that these are way different samples. Oil's catching up to it now, right? And there we go. Right, we can, of course, navigate this sample, and you can see these dots, which are inside those cells. And you can fine tune what you're looking at, right? As you can see. Jumping back to this sample here, once again, on the different focal planes. So I have to, of course, find that focal plane. Here, we have a fine focus and a coarse focus, but now we're already back at looking at what we're looking at. You can pin locations here. You can do a Z-stack. Just wanted to give everybody a quick idea of what that means. A Z-stack, it's going to take pictures on a specific level, so through the sample. And you'll have a kind of like a library of images, of singular images. It's only going to be able to do a Z-stack on this area. A lot of people ask, well, can I Z-stack a whole slide image? With our systems, you cannot. And the reason being is scanning on multiple layers and scanning at this objective, you would create so much data that it's probably not worth the money to do that, right? So that's a couple things I wanted to point out here. Of course, you can do a quick screenshot, but I think the best thing about this is you really have the ability to kind of fine tune what you're looking at, and I do see that that's a quite nice image here. So that's the 08, and a lot of our microscopy systems work in a very similar way. We have kind of a instant scan mode and a slide scan mode. And the 08 is the only one that we have with oil immersion. So the nice thing about this now is, okay, we did our scan, right? And then we would go to, let's say, our Prezi cloud. So, of course, once somebody creates a scan, you have to figure out where you're going to store that scan, as I mentioned. So some people would store it on a hard drive or on their computer. But remember, we're talking about oil immersion. So these can get pretty big. The files can get pretty big. So PreziPoint offers the Prezi Cloud. It's a cloud-based image management system that's basically facilitating collaboration, right? So I am going to quickly showcase that as well, but I am going to actually do it on the other computer. It's in front of me here. And I'll show you guys exactly what I mean by this. So I will have to quickly jump off of this and stop sharing this screen, and then go to my other one and share the screen there. And we will be in it. Let's go here. Entire screen. This one. And share. Perfect. Awesome. So a couple things here. This is the Prezi Cloud. If my computer will start to work for me here. The Prezi Cloud, right, as I mentioned it to everybody before, it is an image management system. So for example, if I'm navigating within this sample, you can see that this is a bone marrow aspirate that we scanned quite a while ago, actually, and you can see that I have some markers here. So this is showcasing definitely what you can do with the Prezi Cloud. You can do any sort of annotations, right? It's a image management system with a viewer built in, so people can upload their images. They can go to their scans right here. You can see my library of images. These are the images that belong to me. And I mentioned a lot about collaboration, right? So collaboration is really a key thing for us here. You have a folder structure, so not only collaboration, but organization. And even, for example, I work in a group, right? I work in the Prezi Point group, and I can see images that were actually shared with me from other people, or folders that were shared from me with other people. So going back to, let's say, my slides here, and diving into, let's say, this image here. We'll dive into this, right? So this is a nice image that we have. And of course, as I mentioned before, you can dive into this sample here. I think we scanned this with only a 20x today, but you can see what I'm talking about. Moving around the image, I can see it kind of catching up on the other screen here. And you have the ability to, of course, share this. So share access. And that's a nice thing, because once you have these big files that you get from scanning oil immersion, like at 100x, those are going to be gigabytes and gigabytes of data, probably 10 gigabytes. You can't just put that into an email and send it to somebody. So what we did is we produced like a tenant, so kind of an umbrella where people can send images within their group to other people. So you can see here, if I click this share access, you'll see that I have this shared with Phil, one of my colleagues. And he only has access to view it. I can actually have him be able to download it, edit, change access, view annotations, or even edit annotations. So I, as the owner of that image, really have full control over who I share it with and what that person who I share it with can do with it. Once again, you can type in kind of a group. So Phil is, of course, an individual user. Prezi Point is my group. So I could spread it to, I don't know, we have, I think, 7 or 8 salespeople within our group that I could send it, and it could just massively send it to them. And then those people would be able to see that image within their shared folder, right? So that's really nice for collaboration. A couple other things that we have implemented in the Prezi Cloud as well. As we're always growing with this, we're always looking for feedback from customers. You can, of course, flip the image and mirror it, rotate it. You can add the annotations, for example. Let's just dive into this one. And let's maybe add just a random annotation here into there. Okay. And then when we go into our annotations, you can see you can name this annotation, and you can even create comments. So it's almost like working on, let's say, Microsoft, where you're going to work Microsoft, SharePoint or something like that, or Google, where I can add comments to say, hey, I don't know, oops, wrong keyboard. Hey, I don't think that this is something that we need to look at, right? And I can save that, And that comment will be there, right? And it says who it's from and what time I stamped it at, right? And you can resolve this discussion. So once again, not only can I share images, but I can share information, even on annotations as well. So that is very, very useful for a lot of our customers and clients, because it's offering them a way to communicate within the platform. Okay. You can locate that as well immediately. You can change the color of that, and you can even hide those as well. You also have image filters. So once again, we talked a little bit about that. People are used to different images and image quality and colors. So once again, we have that in here as well. So you have the ability to do any sort of contrast, saturation, threshold, edge design, edge detection. And then, yeah, you can manage your presets as well, which, yeah, make sure that the labels are, if you're drawing a circle, it's going to be the exact color you want. So just a couple of neat little features that we have here. You can, of course, let's close this off. Another cool new feature that we actually just implemented is much more of like a drawing tool. So, right, we can go in here. Let's see if I can draw this around. It's kind of like a freehand tool that you can draw around, because in the past we definitely just had a couple of these standard ones, but now we have a couple of these. So, you know, if you're looking to maybe create, let's say, for example, any sort of, oh, whoops, I probably shouldn't have done that. I clicked off of this. Any sort of maybe deep learning or working on certain like annotating algorithm pieces here, you could of course draw and annotate this to create those deep learning algorithms. And another cool feature that we actually also have is, I know that this actually isn't going to look one-to-one because I don't have any of the same samples, but let's just add a 40x pap smear here. So we do have split screen as well. Okay, so this is actually going to showcase the fact that we can look at two different samples. Maybe they're two different stains of the same sample. You can move them around individually. You can sync them together as well. So I could, of course, lock them in view 1 here, and things will, let's see, sync to view 1 or sync to view 2, right? And you can move these around and navigate them around, and you can sync and unsync them. Or let's see, I have to make sure I lock. Yeah, so if I lock them, you can see that they're going to be locking in position. So it's nice. We have multiple ways where you can look at multiple images. I think our max would be 7 images that you can split together. But it's quite useful for a lot of people that are working with us. So once again, what I want everybody to understand, you know, looping back into this topic, is the Prezi Cloud is an image management system that's really used to facilitate collaboration between individuals. And then taking a step back, the 08, right? That's the image acquisition part of things, where you can create very high resolution images, grab a couple of them, put them into the Prezi Cloud, and work with your colleagues on them. And we have a couple of different other products. Of course, I'm sure that we'll do another webinar about those in the future. But today we wanted to definitely just focus on the 08 and showcase a little bit about, you know, what we can achieve with oil immersion, and also the Prezi Cloud. So that is really how I would say we work with our systems, and that's it from my side. Are there any questions?
¿Podéis pasar las preguntas? Sí. James, there's 2 questions. Let me check. Álvaro, si me estás escuchando, por favor, si quieres escribirlas. Here we are. In instant scan, is there Is there some annotation? Are they available when the sample is scanned? Well, I do have another question in our WhatsApp that is exactly the same question. So,
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, so in instant scan, is there some annotations? If there are some annotations, are they available when the sample is scanned? So in instant scan, we have to keep in mind that it's not like actually scanning the image. So you can do the annotations on the instant scan, but then once you go to scan the image, it's not going to grab what those annotations were, right? Because those were just overlaid on top of what we were working on before. But alternatively, you would put the image into, or just scan the image in general, and then you would be able to do those annotations in the Prezi Cloud, for example. So they wouldn't track from the instant scan to actually scanning.
okay. Álvaro creo que está escribiendo la segunda pregunta, o si no tienes ninguna otra, yo tengo que hacer otra pregunta de WhatsApp. I do have another question from WhatsApp. So Álvaro has time to write the second question he had. So I think you mentioned that, but just in case, how the microscopes focus adjustments of blood smears with different cell densities, if the focus optimized automatically each region.
Yes. So with those focal points, that's how it's automatically grabbing that information. So for example, if we're scanning that feather area, right, we know that the right side of the feather is going to be more dense than the left side because it's getting feathered out. So basically, with those focal points that you have, and you can also add more focal points. I didn't show that, but you can definitely add more focal points. And that those focal points are gathering the information to understand at what level the focal plane is at in that area. So that's how it automatically grabs that information and it applies it to the scans that you do.
Creo que, no sé si, bueno, la anterior pregunta no la he traducido al español, voy a traducir esta respuesta de James. Sí, lo que nos han preguntado es el tema del autofoco, si es automático, porque como bien sabéis, en los blood smears pues tienen zonas con una densidad más alta y con menos densidad. Entonces sí, el equipo no solamente lo permite, sino que además te señala de una forma inteligente en qué puntos debería aplicarse el foco para que luego la imagen, la resolución de la imagen, una vez que esté escaneada, sea perfecta, y luego a medida que tú vas escaneando la imagen cuando utilizas el microscopio en tiempo real, también se va enfocando de forma automática. La primera respuesta, que era la pregunta de Álvaro sobre las anotaciones, en principio cuando trabajáis con el microscopio en tiempo real, como un microscopio digital, se pueden hacer anotaciones, pero en principio no van a exportarse una vez que está escaneado. Lo que sí aconseja es que una vez que habéis terminado la zona que queráis escanear y subir al repositorio Prezi Cloud, a partir de ahí ya sigáis trabajando individual o de forma colaborativa, añadiendo todas las indicaciones, las flechas, las medidas y también los comentarios. Ese es el consejo que ha dado en la explicación. And my third question, I think it's aligned with the comments and the notes. So, en este caso, la persona que me ha hecho la pregunta por WhatsApp, que está alineada con este tema de los comentarios y del ratio de células y del tamaño, sería lo mismo, que una vez que está ya subida a Prezi Cloud se puede poner todos los comentarios de nuevo otra vez, pero que no se va a exportar desde la imagen al Prezi Cloud. We do have another question from Álvaro. Related to Prezi Cloud, when you share any document and person who receives makes any edition, do you keep the original image without edition too? I mean, I'm thinking about doing online exams.
That's a great question. So I think when you're sharing images to other people, you definitely have the ability to keep your own. And it's actually funny when somebody says the online exams, we didn't showcase the Prezi course because Prezi course would be exactly what you're looking for, Alvaro. It's a it's kind of a build on in addition to the Prezi Cloud, which is formatted for online exams. So you as a teacher, you can of course provide let's say images to your participants. You can ask multiple choice questions as well, and they get to see everything. They get to see the images and navigate throughout the image, so the image viewers actually input it in there as well. So I think that would be very interesting, and I'm sure that Emilio will definitely chat with you about that, and we can actually have a setup meeting to showcase that as well.
Exactly. So, Álvaro, como dijo James, no, en este webinar no nos da tiempo a un poco hablar de Prezi Course. Prezi Cloud es una plataforma, como ha explicado James, adicional a Prezi Cloud, donde hay diferentes funciones pues con alumnos, ¿no? Pues para poner tareas, editar tiempos que tienen que hacer esa tarea. En fin, hay diferentes características que podemos discutir en detalle si lo necesitara.
Y yo por último añadir, no sé si me escucháis, a la respuesta que ha dicho James, efectivamente que tienen su aplicación específica para docencia. También hay un equipo que es más orientado, más específico para docencia, que si estuvierais en algún momento interesados, por supuesto mi compañero Emilio pues os facilitará toda la información. Que sería, si no me equivoco, es el modelo R8, ¿verdad?
Sí.
¿Alguna pregunta más? Any other question?
Bueno, a mí sí me gustaría para terminar. Thank you very much, James. We are almost finished, so I think it was very clear how to manage or how to operate with the microscope. I think it's really easy to use the microscope, so and the quality of the image and resolution are quite good. So anyway, thank you very much for your participation.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And just remember, everybody, we were showcasing 100x oil. The OA is compatible with a 60x oil as well. We just didn't have the 60x oil today. And, you can easily interchange these out as well. So if you as a customer want to, explore having both of them, you can do that. It's been really a pleasure to be here and share with my experiences with you guys. And I'm looking forward to doing another one with you guys as well.
Thank you, James. Y el resto, pues, comentar o recalcar lo que ha dicho antes mi compañera Berta, pues, que sepáis que tenemos en Iesmat, que nos encontramos en Alcobendas, ¿vale? Dado que también el microscopio podemos manejarlo en remoto, como hemos explicado antes, podemos realizar una demo presencial en nuestra oficina en Alcobendas, como he comentado, o bien podemos hacerlo en remoto si fuera el caso, tuviera interés. Y en cualquier caso, pues, ya después de cuando terminemos el webinar, pues enviará a cada uno de vosotros la presentación y, por supuesto, si tenéis alguna duda que haya quedado disponible o pendiente para después, pues encantado estoy de recibirla.
Y ya para terminar, un comentario muy rápido. Os vamos a mandar la grabación a todos los asistentes para que podáis verla cuando queráis. También, si tenéis más preguntas, podéis mandarlas por email, no hay ningún problema, o por WhatsApp. Y ya para finalizar, no solamente los equipos, sino también en Iesmat distribuimos todos los consumibles que vayáis a necesitar para poder manejar los equipos. Portas, cubres, todos los fijadores, los productos químicos, todo lo que necesitéis. Así que quedamos a vuestra disposición.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming. Have a very nice weekend. Y gracias a todos por la asistencia hoy. Que paséis un bonito fin de semana. Muchas gracias.
Bye.